Silence makes people uncomfortable, not just the kind where no one's talking, but the deeper kind. The kind where there's nothing distracting you, no noise, no notifications, no one else around to fill the space. Just you, your thoughts, and that eerie, quiet presence we usually try to avoid. And it's weird, right? You'd think silence would be peaceful, but a lot of people panic when it gets too quiet. It feels like something's wrong, like something's missing. But silence isn't empty. It's just full of the things we're trying not to hear. Think about it. How often do we try to fill the silence? When you're waiting in line, you check your phone. When you're home alone, you turn on music or scroll. When there's a pause in a conversation, you jump to fill it. It's automatic. We avoid silence like it's dangerous. But really, what we're avoiding is ourselves. Because silence forces you to face the things you usually suppress. The stuff you've buried under schedules, distractions, conversations, and noise. Silence brings all of it to the surface. The thoughts you don't want to think. The questions you've been avoiding. The parts of yourself you haven't made peace with yet. And that's why it feels so uncomfortable. Psychologically, this makes sense. The human brain is constantly looking for stimulation. When that stimulation drops, when there's no sound, no movement, no input, your mind turns inward. It starts picking apart your day, your life, your identity. And for a lot of people, that's terrifying. Because introspection isn't always pretty. You start hearing the doubts, the insecurity, the what-ifs, the regrets, the grief, the anger you never dealt with, the dreams you've been ignoring. And all of that shows up in silence. That's why we avoid it. Not because silence is boring, but because it's honest. And most of us aren't used to being alone with the truth. But here's where it gets important. Discomfort doesn't mean something is wrong. In fact, discomfort is often a sign you're finally touching something real. And silence, uncomfortable as it is where transformation begins. Because in silence, you learn what's actually going on beneath the surface. You notice your patterns. You hear your real voice, not the one shaped by others. You figure out what you're actually feeling, not what you think you should be feeling. And when you stop running from all of that, you start to heal. There's a reason some of the most ancient practices in the world, meditation, prayer, reflection, are built on silence. Because there's wisdom in the stillness, there's clarity in the quiet. But you only get that when you stop filling the gaps with noise. And no, it's not easy. Sitting in silence is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Because it means facing yourself, not the version of you that shows up online. Not the version of you that people expect, but the raw, unfiltered version that only comes out when no one's watching. And that version of you, that's where your power is. The world tells you to speak more, post more, do more, be louder, go faster. But silence teaches you how to listen. It teaches you how to separate your voice from the voices around you. It teaches you patience and presence and perspective, things that can't be downloaded or scrolled past or faked. In silence, you remember what actually matters. You reconnect with your instincts. You feel the weight of your choices. You start to realize what you've been carrying that isn't yours. And little by little, you start letting go of what's not real. A lot of people think peace means everything around you is calm, but real peace starts when you are calm, even if everything else is chaos. And you don't find that kind of peace in the noise. You find it in silence. In the uncomfortable, quiet moments that force you to stop performing and just be. And eventually, the silence that once felt uncomfortable starts to feel like home. Because the more you sit with yourself, the more you trust yourself. The more you stop needing external validation. The more you hear your own truth over the noise of the world. And that's when things shift. That's when you stop chasing things that don't matter. That's when you stop reacting to every opinion. That's when you stop being afraid to slow down. So yeah, silence is uncomfortable at first, but only because it's unfamiliar. We live in a world that's allergic to quiet. But if you can get past the discomfort, if you can sit with it long enough to hear what's really going on inside, you'll find something there that no amount of noise can give you. Self-awareness, strength, stillness, peace. And once you find that, you'll never be afraid of silence again. In fact, you'll crave it. Because you'll know that what once felt like emptiness was actually space. Space to breathe, space to grow, space to finally hear the part of you that's been whispering all along. You're not lost. You've just been too loud to listen. But now you're listening, and that's the beginning of everything.